What if everything you've been taught about building wealth after 50 is completely backward? What if the secret to financial security in your later years isn't about making brilliant investment moves, but rather about avoiding catastrophic mistakes? This counterintuitive wisdom comes from one of the greatest investors of all time, Charlie Munger, who amassed billions not through flashy strategies, but through patience, discipline, and an almost obsessive focus on avoiding stupidity. Has this ever happened to you? You've reached your 50s, looked at your retirement accounts and felt that sinking feeling that you're behind? The panic sets in, and suddenly you're drawn to high-risk investments promising quick returns. According to Munger, this common reaction is precisely what destroys wealth after 50, not builds it. By the time you're 50, most of your big moves in life are already behind you, Munger once explained. Your career trajectory is largely set. Your family situation is what it is, and your ability to take wild risks, it's mostly gone, unless you enjoy gambling with your retirement, which Munger compares to betting your house at a casino. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach your finances in the second half of life. Munger's wisdom offers a refreshingly stress-free approach to building wealth that doesn't require you to become a market genius or spend hours analyzing stocks. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The core of his strategy is beautifully simple. After 50, play defense, not offense. The offensive years of your 20s, 30s, and 40s are behind you. Now, risk-taking becomes increasingly dangerous because you simply don't have the time horizon to recover from major losses. Instead of chasing impressive returns, your primary focus should be protecting what you've already built while allowing it to grow steadily. Consider this sobering truth. Losing half your money at age 60 is dramatically worse than losing that same amount at 30. At 30, you have decades to recover and rebuild. At 60, you might not even live long enough to make it back. The real enemy isn't underperformance of your portfolio, it's catastrophe. Munger advises a fundamental shift in mindset from trying to be clever to trying not to be stupid. As he puts it, avoiding stupidity is a full-time job. What makes this approach so powerful is that it aligns with the realities of aging. It acknowledges that your relationship with risk naturally changes as you get older. It's not about giving up on growth or resigning yourself to mediocre returns. Rather, it's about understanding that consistent, reasonable returns combined with capital preservation will outperform risky boom and bust cycles every time in your later years. But if playing defense is so important, what specific defensive moves should you be making? And how do you balance safety with the need to keep your money growing ahead of inflation? The answers might surprise you. If you want more timeless financial wisdom from legends like Charlie Munger, hit that subscribe button now. We're building a community of thoughtful investors who value substance over hype, especially for those building wealth after 50. Let me reveal something that might sound counterintuitive. The financial world doesn't reward excitement. It punishes it. This hidden truth is particularly relevant after 50, when your investment decisions carry heavier consequences. Munger understood this paradox better than most. The investments that sound thrilling in conversation, cryptocurrencies, startup ventures, complex derivatives, are often the very ones that destroy retirement dreams. Instead, Munger advocates for a complete mindset transformation. Embrace boring investments. Yes, boring. Those stable, established companies that produce reliable products, generate consistent cash flow, and pay regular dividends. They're not exciting at dinner parties. Nobody gasps when you mention you own shares of consumer staples or utilities. But these boring choices work. They compound. And perhaps most importantly, they let you sleep at night. The real revelation here is how this approach affects your entire life journey. When your investments are boring and predictable, your lifestyle can become far more interesting. You're not constantly checking your phone for market updates or worrying about whether some speculative position is imploding. Your mental bandwidth is freed for relationships, hobbies, and meaningful experiences, the things that actually create a rich life in your later years. Behind the scenes of most financial disasters is a simple truth: the less thrilling your investment approach after 50, the more likely you'll enjoy a thrilling retirement with genuine financial security. It's about making peace with being the tortoise rather than the hare in the wealth race. Now, I want to go even deeper into what Munger identified as one of the most destructive forces in an investor's life after 50: envy. This emotion has a uniquely devastating impact on financial decisions, yet it rarely gets discussed in conventional investment advice. Munger famously called envy the dumbest of the 7 deadly sins because it's the only one where you get absolutely no enjoyment. With greed, you at least get the pleasure of spending. With gluttony, you enjoy eating. But with envy, you just sit there stewing in resentment while someone else enjoys their yacht or vacation home. What makes envy particularly dangerous after 50 is how it disrupts decades of sound financial planning in an instant. You might have been methodically building wealth for years when suddenly your brother-in-law brags about a cryptocurrency windfall, or your neighbor purchases a luxury car from a stock market gamble. In that moment of comparison, your stable, compounding investment strategy suddenly feels inadequate, even though it's precisely what will secure your future. This emotional trigger has destroyed more retirement portfolios than economic recessions. The most successful investors, Munger observed, shared one critical trait: they had almost zero concern for what others were doing. They didn't pivot their strategy when neighbors bragged about hot stocks. They didn't panic when media headlines trumpeted the next big thing. They focused exclusively on their own financial journey, staying solvent and compounding quietly. The decisions you make in response to envy don't just affect your portfolio, they shape your entire relationship with money and happiness. When you break free from comparing your financial progress to others, you discover a kind of wealth that transcends mere numbers in an account. If this resonates with you, write in the comments, "Freedom from financial envy." So I know I'm not the only one who's struggled with this powerful emotion. This ability to ignore what others are doing isn't just good investing psychology, it's a revolutionary approach to life after 50. Munger observed that the truly successful investors he knew possessed an almost supernatural ability to tune out noise. They created an internal compass that wasn't deflected by market hysteria, media headlines, or even well-meaning advice from friends and family. Think about the profound liberation that comes with this mindset. While others frantically switch strategies based on the latest investment fad or economic forecast, these quiet wealth builders simply stay the course. They're not constantly recalibrating or second-guessing themselves. There's an almost Zen-like quality to their financial journey. A peaceful certainty amid the chaos that surrounds money decisions. The revelation here is that this independence of thought doesn't just protect your portfolio, it transforms your entire relationship with wealth. When you're not constantly comparing your financial decisions to others, you gain the mental space to focus on what truly matters, building a life of meaning and purpose rather than just accumulating numbers in an account. Behind the scenes of this wisdom is Munger's understanding of human psychology. We're social creatures, wired to care deeply about our status relative to the group. This evolutionary programming served us well when resources were scarce. But in today's financial marketplace, it leads to disastrous decision-making. The courage to stand apart, to watch others chase returns in areas you don't understand, becomes one of your greatest financial assets after 50. Now, I want to go even deeper into another cornerstone of Munger's philosophy that becomes increasingly vital with age: radical simplicity. As we move through our 50s, 60s and beyond, complexity becomes the enemy of financial security. Those elaborate investment structures, exotic financial instruments, and convoluted tax strategies that might have seemed impressive earlier in life often hide massive risks that only reveal themselves at the worst possible moment. Munger offered a brilliantly straightforward test. If you can't explain an investment to your spouse in under 1 minute, you probably shouldn't own it. This clarity test isn't about intelligence, it's about transparency. When investments are complex, the hidden risks multiply. When they're simple, you can spot trouble before it devastates your portfolio. This simplicity principle extends beyond individual investments to your entire financial ecosystem. Multiple accounts scattered across different institutions, overlapping insurance policies, forgotten retirement plans from previous employers. This fragmentation makes coherent decision-making nearly impossible. The impact of streamlining your financial life creates not just better returns, but dramatically reduces stress and cognitive load. The journey towards simplification often feels counterintuitive in a financial world that profits from complexity. Advisors, brokers, and financial institutions have built entire business models around making simple concepts seem mysterious. Yet Munger's experience shows that the path to wealth after 50 isn't through sophisticated strategies, it's through clear-eyed simplicity. If you find yourself nodding along to this idea of simplification, type "clarity is wealth" in the comments below. I'd love to know how many of you are already embracing this principle. Let's talk about what Munger considered one of the most dangerous traps for investors after 50. A silent wealth destroyer that has ruined countless retirement plans: leverage. Debt can seem seductive, especially when interest rates are low and asset prices are rising. The financial industry actively promotes it as a tool for sophisticated investors. But Munger's perspective reveals a profound hidden truth. Debt magnifies everything, both gains and losses, and after 50, you simply cannot afford the latter. The transformation in thinking here is crucial. While using borrowed money might have been reasonable in your younger years when time was on your side, the risk calculation fundamentally changes after 50. The recovery runway has shortened dramatically. A leveraged position that goes wrong at 60 doesn't just set you back a few years, it can permanently alter your retirement journey. Behind the scenes of almost every major financial catastrophe involving experienced investors, you'll find excessive leverage. These weren't unintelligent people, quite the opposite. The world is full of brilliant minds who went broke because they borrowed too much at precisely the wrong time. They forgot Munger's wisdom that good times never last forever, and when they end, leverage can obliterate decades of careful saving in mere months. This cautionary insight isn't about eliminating all debt. It's about recognizing the asymmetric risk it creates in the second half of life. A mortgage that's manageable and nearly paid off might be reasonable, but margin loans to buy stocks, home equity lines to fund investments, or other forms of speculation with borrowed money? These decisions carry an outsized potential for regret. Now, I want to go even deeper into a dimension of financial success after 50 that rarely gets discussed: the profound impact of who you partner with on your wealth-building journey. Munger's relationship with Warren Buffett wasn't just a business arrangement. It was a carefully calibrated partnership that multiplied their individual talents while minimizing their weaknesses. The revelation here is that your financial partners, whether a spouse, business associate, financial advisor, or friend, have a disproportionate influence on your financial outcomes. Munger advised choosing people who make you more rational, not less, individuals who bring stability rather than drama, who amplify your strengths rather than magnify your weaknesses. This wisdom applies across all relationships that touch your money. The wrong investment advisor pushing the latest high-commission products can undermine decades of disciplined saving. A business partner with poor risk management can sink a profitable enterprise. Even a spouse with fundamentally different money values can create ongoing friction that leads to poor decisions. The mindset shift Munger advocates is evaluating relationships not just on emotional or social grounds, but on their decision-making impact. Do these people help you stay rational when markets are volatile? Do they encourage financial discipline or impulsive spending? Do their skills complement yours in ways that create better outcomes than you could achieve alone? Join our growing community of investors by subscribing today. We distill complex financial wisdom into actionable strategies that can help secure your financial future, regardless of your starting point. If you've experienced the difference between wealth-building partnerships and wealth-destroying ones in your own life, comment below with "Choose wisely." I'd love to hear how your financial relationships have shaped your journey. One of Munger's most profound revelations about building wealth after 50 relates to something he called the circle of competence, a concept that transforms how you evaluate investment opportunities. Most investors try to expand their knowledge across numerous domains, believing that versatility leads to better returns. But Munger and Buffett took the opposite approach. Their greatest strength wasn't how much they knew, it was that they clearly recognized what they didn't know. This mindset shift creates an almost magical filter for your investment decisions. When presented with opportunities outside your circle of understanding, you simply say no, even if others are making spectacular gains. During the dot-com boom, while tech investors were becoming overnight millionaires, Munger and Buffett stuck to businesses they understood. They looked foolish until the bubble burst and they remained wealthy while others were devastated. The wisdom here isn't about limiting yourself. It's about knowing exactly where your edge ends. The journey toward financial security after 50 doesn't require expertise in every emerging trend or industry. It demands honest self-awareness about where your knowledge is deep enough to make informed decisions and where it isn't. This clarity becomes your shield against the siren song of investments that might seem promising but hide risks you can't properly evaluate. Behind the scenes of almost every major investment disaster is someone venturing beyond their circle of competence, often with the best intentions. The tech executive who loses everything in complex commodity futures, the doctor who gets wiped out in real estate speculation, the business owner devastated by exotic tax shelters. These weren't stupid people. They were smart people making decisions in domains where their intelligence couldn't protect them. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be Munger's most counterintuitive principle for building wealth after 50, survival as the primary strategy. The hidden truth here completely reshapes how you should think about your financial future. Getting rich in your later years isn't about making brilliant moves. It's about avoiding fatal ones. This perspective creates a total transformation in your decision-making framework. You don't need to double your money overnight through clever speculation. You don't need to discover the next Amazon or Apple. You simply need to avoid blowing yourself up. This shift from offensive genius to defensive resilience isn't exciting, but it's extraordinarily effective. The impact of this approach becomes clear when you consider the math of steady, rational investing over 15 to 20 years. A portfolio growing at a consistent 7 to 8% doubles approximately every decade. From age 50 to 70, that's not one but two complete doublings of your wealth. Someone starting with $500,000 at 50 could have over $2 million by 70 without a single brilliant investment move, just by avoiding catastrophic mistakes and letting compounding work its quiet magic. What's remarkable about this strategy is how it reduces the emotional burden of investing. You're no longer chasing home runs or feeling inadequate when you miss a market trend. You're playing a different game entirely, one focused on longevity rather than speed, on consistency rather than brilliance, on compounding rather than timing. If this more sustainable approach to wealth building resonates with you, type "playing the long game" in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have already embraced this mindset shift in your own financial journey. The revolutionary power of steady growth is something Munger emphasized repeatedly, yet it remains one of the most overlooked wealth-building principles for those over 50. There's an almost magical quality to what consistent returns can accomplish in the final decades before retirement. A steady 7% annual return, nothing spectacular by Wall Street standards, compounds to double your money roughly every decade. At age 50, that means your nest egg could potentially double by 60 and then double again by 70. This revelation completely shifts your perspective on what successful investing looks like after 50. The financial media bombards us with stories of overnight crypto millionaires or tech stock windfall gains. These exceptional cases create a distorted benchmark that makes normal, healthy returns seem inadequate. Yet Munger understood that these sensational stories often mask the countless financial casualties that result from high-risk approaches. The transformation comes in recognizing that you don't need spectacular returns to achieve financial abundance. You need consistent returns that allow the phenomenon of compounding to work its quiet magic while you sleep. This mindset shift doesn't just change your investment decisions, it fundamentally alters your relationship with money. The pressure to hit home runs dissipates. The anxiety over market fluctuations diminishes. The need to constantly adjust. Your strategy fades. Behind the scenes of this wisdom is a profound psychological insight. Consistency beats intensity in almost every long-term endeavor. The investor who earns steady 7 to 9% returns year after year will ultimately outperform the one who swings between spectacular gains and devastating losses. This principle of steady growth mirrors what works in other areas of life after 50. Sustainable health practices, nurturing relationships, developing skills, where consistency ultimately triumphs over sporadic brilliance. Now, I want to go even deeper into what Munger considered the absolute foundation of financial success after 50, a principle so fundamental that without it, no investment strategy matters: living below your means. Munger was characteristically blunt about this. If you're not spending less than you earn, nobody can help you. Not me, not Warren, not the smartest financial advisor on the planet. The hidden truth here cuts through mountains of complex financial advice. The laws of arithmetic don't care about your feelings, your lifestyle aspirations, or your social comparisons. When more money flows out than flows in, the result is mathematically guaranteed. You go broke. This reality doesn't change whether you earn $50,000 or $500,000 a year. What makes this principle especially crucial after 50 is the compressed timeline. In your 30s, spending mistakes can be offset by decades of future earning potential. After 50, overspending immediately begins, eroding the very capital that needs to compound for your remaining years. The journey toward financial freedom becomes impossible when your spending habits constantly work against your investment strategy. The impact of mastering this principle extends far beyond your balance sheet. When you consistently live below your means, you gain something far more valuable than material possessions. You gain options, flexibility, and peace of mind. The psychological weight of financial stress lifts. The freedom to make life choices based on meaning rather than money emerges. If you've experienced the liberation that comes from spending less than you earn, drop financial freedom in the comments. It's one of the simplest principles to understand, but one of the hardest to consistently practice. One of the most profound evolutions in Munger's investment philosophy, and one especially relevant after 50, was his shift away from what he called cigar butt investing. Early in his career, influenced by Benjamin Graham, he looked for mediocre companies trading at deep discounts, like finding a discarded cigar butt with one good puff left in it. You could buy cheap, get a quick profit, and move on. But the revelation that transformed his entire approach came through his partnership with Buffett. Quality matters more than price. This mindset shift is particularly powerful for investors in their later years. Rather than hunting for bargains among troubled companies, Munger advocated focusing on exceptional businesses at fair prices that you can comfortably hold for decades. These are enterprises with durable competitive advantages, strong balance sheets, and the ability to compound capital at above-average rates. They might never be the cheapest option in the market, but their long-term wealth creation potential far exceeds that of mediocre businesses bought at seemingly attractive prices. The journey toward this quality-focused approach requires overcoming powerful psychological barriers. Bargain hunting feels good. It satisfies our desire to find deals and outsmart others. Paying fair value for excellence often feels less gratifying in the moment. Yet Munger recognized that this short-term emotional satisfaction often comes at the expense of superior long-term results. This shift in thinking, from price to quality, was worth billions over their careers. Behind the scenes of this strategy is a profound understanding of how time amplifies both excellence and mediocrity. A truly exceptional business compounds its advantages year after year, while a mediocre one struggles against endless headwinds. After 50, when your investment horizon might still be 20-30 years, this compounding of quality becomes an overwhelmingly powerful force in building lasting wealth. Now I want to go even deeper into a closely related principle that protected Munger and Buffett through decades of market manias: their complete indifference to investment fashion. The financial world constantly cycles through trends: conglomerates in the 1960s, Nifty 50 stocks in the 1970s, Japanese everything in the 1980s, dot-coms in the 1990s, crypto in recent years. Each era brings its own must-own investments that everyone scrambles to participate in. The hidden truth Munger discovered is that true wealth comes not from following these trends, but from ignoring them entirely. Neither he nor Buffett cared about looking fashionable or winning Wall Street's approval. If something didn't make fundamental sense, if they couldn't clearly understand how it would generate cash flow over decades, they simply didn't touch it, regardless of how many people mocked their outdated thinking. This independence of thought isn't just an intellectual position, it's a form of financial self-preservation, particularly after 50. The pressure to conform to investment trends grows more intense with each market cycle, yet the consequences of following the crowd into overvalued assets become increasingly severe as your runway shortens. Munger's unwavering commitment to thinking independently protected him from countless bubbles that devastated those who couldn't resist the siren song of what was temporarily popular. If you've found yourself swimming against the current by avoiding trendy investments that everyone else seemed to be piling into, share your experience with Independent Investor in the comments. It's often a lonely path, but it's the one that leads to lasting wealth. As we approach our later years, Munger observed a profound shift in what truly matters in our financial journey: The ultimate goal after 50 isn't glamour, status, or even maximizing returns. It's achieving dignity and independence. This revelation transforms how we view the entire purpose of our financial lives. The genuine prize isn't a specific dollar amount or outperforming some arbitrary benchmark. It's knowing with absolute certainty that you won't have to depend on others or work until you physically can't continue. This mindset revolution changes everything about how you approach money after 50. Financial independence isn't about luxury yachts or vacation homes, though those might be nice additions. It's about the freedom to make life choices without economic desperation driving your decisions. It's about preserving your autonomy when you're most vulnerable. It's about maintaining your dignity when health challenges or other life circumstances might otherwise force difficult compromises. Behind the scenes of this wisdom is Munger's observation of countless individuals who accumulated impressive wealth on paper but never achieved true independence. Their lifestyles expanded with their assets, creating golden handcuffs that required them to keep working or taking risks well into their 70s and 80s. Meanwhile, he watched others with more modest means achieve complete freedom through restraint, discipline, and consistency. The impact of this perspective shift extends far beyond your investment statements. When financial independence becomes your primary goal, decisions become clearer. The expensive status symbols that once seemed important fade in relevance. The risky investment opportunities that promise quick wealth but might jeopardize your core security become easier to decline. Your entire relationship with money transforms from a scorecard to a tool for creating the life you actually want. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be Munger's most counterintuitive principle, the extraordinary power of extreme patience. In a financial world obsessed with activity, constant trading, portfolio adjustments, market timing, Munger discovered that the greatest wealth-building force is often doing nothing at all for very long periods. He didn't set out with a master plan to become a billionaire. He simply avoided stupidity consistently enough that compounding could work its mathematical magic. This revelation completely inverts how most people approach investing. The financial industry profits from action, from the belief that success comes through clever timing and constant vigilance. Yet Munger found that after establishing positions in excellent businesses at fair prices, his best moves were often non-moves, periods of intentional inactivity that allowed compounding to flourish undisturbed. The journey toward this patient-centered approach isn't easy. Our brains are wired for action, especially when markets become volatile or media headlines create a sense of urgency. Developing the temperament to sit quietly while your carefully selected investments grow requires a psychological transformation that few master. Yet this capacity for enlightened patience has created more lasting wealth than almost any other quality. What's particularly powerful about this principle is how it removes the need for brilliance. The greatest investors aren't necessarily the most intelligent. They're the ones who can resist the constant temptation to interfere with compounding through unnecessary action. This insight is incredibly liberating after 50, when you might worry that you lack the sharp analytical edge of younger investors. The truth is, your experience and emotional stability give you advantages they don't have. If you've experienced how patience has rewarded you in your financial journey, share your story with Patience Pays in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have already discovered this powerful truth. As we've explored Charlie Munger's wisdom together, I hope you've discovered that building wealth after 50 isn't about financial gymnastics or brilliant market timing. It's about patience, simplicity, and avoiding catastrophic mistakes. Munger showed us that the path to financial independence in our later years doesn't require genius. It requires temperament. If something in this conversation resonated with you today, I'd love to hear which principle hit home the most. Drop a comment with Munger's wisdom and share which of these insights you're planning to implement in your own financial journey. Your perspective might help someone else who's navigating similar waters. If you found value in these timeless principles that have guided some of history's most successful investors, consider hitting that like button. It helps these ideas reach others who might benefit from this stress-free approach to building wealth after 50. And if you're interested in more clear-headed financial wisdom that cuts through the noise of today's investment landscape, join our community by subscribing. We're building a space for thoughtful investors who value substance over hype, especially for those in the second half of life. Speaking of substance over hype, there's a video right here about how to identify truly exceptional businesses worth holding for decades, the kind Munger and Buffett built their fortunes on. Click and continue with me over there as we explore what makes a company not just good, but truly extraordinary for the long-term investor.